Okay, so I want to talk about sales in the new era. And the idea is to really first see that we are actually coming into a new space and time, a new era. I like to call it the awakening that has hit humanity. You see, things that have been going the same way forever just can't sustain themselves anymore. Meaning that we have old, antiquated systems that need to stop and, in fact, crumble. And that's what we're seeing in a lot of industries right now, aren't we? We're seeing this in the government. We're seeing it in all of the business sectors. Anything that pertains to institutionalism is actually coming apart at the foundations. And this may be a surprise to some of you, but others, it's not at all. But some of you may be thinking, what are you talking about? It's kind of like this woman that I talked to. She's probably in her late 20s or so. Talked to her at a store called Seed to Table. Amazing store, by the way, in Florida. But I talked with her she was at the cashier checkout stand, and I said that, paper money, I gave some paper money today to pay for something, and I said it's going away. We're becoming a cashless society. I just said it casually, and she goes, "No, why would you say that? No, we're not." And I soon came to realize, actually the literal stats are 76% of all global transactions are digital. And so whether we like that or not, it's actually becoming true. And so I began to sit there and think as I walked out the store. I was like, okay, a lot of people don't realize what is happening right now with the collapse of things that don't serve mankind to their highest anymore. And when we're trying to sell a product in relations to sales, I realize that a lot of you, have ground it out. You have hustled it out. You have struggled and you've pounded out the hours to try to sell something. I've done it too in the past. But I came to realize that, wait a minute, once I started understanding the physics of sales, then I was like, hold on, I've got to do a course on this. I'm actually in the process of writing a book on it. And it's that big of a subject because I have been so involved in this sales process over the last 35 years of me managing at some level, 20 of those years in the senior living environment. And I can tell you that the way the antiquated systems wants to make sales happen, it's an archaic way of thinking, and it just is not going to sustain itself in this new era that we are entering. When I say new era, I mean that we are awakening into the originality and the design that we were always made to be in the earth. Meaning that the conditioning, we're seeing it for what it is through our self-awareness. We're seeing the programming in our lives for what it is. And we are looking at it and saying, hold on a minute, this is not serving me. It's not serving mankind to its highest. So I need to do the inner work and become healed so I can dissolve this conditioning to see the original design and blueprint that I'm made of. And that, my friend, is relational more than it is, or first before it is, sales. Think about the time when you tried to push a sale, no matter if you're working for somebody or yourself. And you're like, man, I've got to make this happen this month, or I am going under. I've got to pay the bills. I've got to sell this product for the company. I need to sell, or I'm in hell. I'm in Hellville. I'm not in Wellville. So what do I need to do to make this sale happen? And so we find ourselves becoming needy and desperate. So when we look at the energetics of this and the frequency that we're involved in, when we talking about physics now, when we go to the underlying layers of the subconscious reality of our lives, then we begin to see, hold on a minute, I'm actually pushing this sale away and not inviting it. So here's an example. When I was in senior living and that whole world, I really enjoyed working with seniors. because I still think they're the greatest generation as far as class. They say please, they say thank you. They are a very honorable and upright generation of folks for the most part, okay? And I believe that the elderly need to be treated with respect because they are older, they're a little more fragile than the young ones, and they have lived a long life and they have wisdom to share. So there's a whole lot I could say about that, but just in a nutshell, there's a few things. And so when I interacted with them, I found something to be very true, 100% true all of the time, is that when they came into a senior living community looking for a little bit of independence because they don't want to lose that, they're looking for autonomy because they don't want to lose that, but most of all, they're looking for safety and security because they know that they're getting fragile. They know that they have health conditions. They understand that their family really cares for them, and they're the ones pressing on them and pushing them to get into an environment that feels safe and where a care team can care for them. So we're talking about independent living, assisted living, and memory care. And then there's rehabilitation. There is SNFs, what we call them, skilled nursing facilities. But for the sake of this message and what I've been involved in is mostly those three levels with independent living, assisted living, and memory care. They're all important. And what I discovered as an executive director and regional director and trainer and acquisitions person and troubleshooter and all the rest for years was this one deficiency that was overall arching and a common denominator in most of the interactions that I had. And that was the upper management would bring the message down to somebody like myself, an executive director or regional director, and say something to this effect. We are now putting into effect in our SOPs, standard operating procedures, that every single person on staff in one of these communities is now a salesperson. And by the way, the executive director is the number one salesperson. Well, that may seem good on paper, but man, did it set alarm bells off in not only myself, but in the sales staff and everyone else, the chef, the housekeeper, the care team, the maintenance director, and everybody else that was hired to do a specific job because they had an expertise in that area. And so I'm going, okay, if that's a directive, I'm going to quote unquote obey orders because that's what we do as an employee, right? Or they look for somebody else. So I would say to myself, this isn't going to work. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And the reason is because each and every person was designed and hired for a specific functionality because they had an expertise in that area. I don't care if it's the housekeeper, the caregiver, which is the most important element in these environments, in my opinion, or the chef. They were hired for a specific reason. This is why I don't believe in cross-training. This is why I don't believe that it's effective in the new era and the new consciousness that we're in. I don't believe it will sustain itself. It will run out of breath. Mark my words, it will run out of breath. It's already starting to lose steam. So in these areas, if you want to have a well-oiled and a well-in-tune and on-pitch orchestra, for example, each instrument has a mastery to play in that orchestra. You have to have X amount of hours, X amount of, fluidity and some natural talent, some gifting there, and some real skill in order to play an orchestra. I think anybody on the planet that knows anything or has ever heard an orchestra would know that and agree with that, right? So I look at teams the same way in any company. Doesn't matter if it's a plumbing company. It doesn't matter if it's a design company or a grocery store. Each person has been hired to live out or walk out or, quote, perform a certain role because they have skill and experience in that area. It should go without saying, my friend, but we have to reiterate this because the system is broken. So we get employed, and then we're hired on, and then we start engaging. And then the orders come down from the management or the ownership or the partners or the investors or everything in between. And they begin to say, hey, executive director or regional director, we need you to implement this strategy right away. And why is that? Because we're suffering in sales. We are suffering in our census. We are suffering in occupancy. We are suffering in the profit line because we have investors to answer to. Now, that's a lot of them, but not all of them. Some of them are owned by the ownership, but they still put this pressure on. Believe me, I've been in all situations in this industry. So you can think about your own industry and feel the same, right? So then the orders come down and you're like, okay, how am I going to tell a housekeeper that she's now a salesperson? How am I going to inform the chef that is supposed to be creating wonderful food items and meals that nourish the residents? How am I supposed to tell them they're now the salesperson? Okay. And before you buck back at me and argue about this, I have seen this go completely sideways on a team environment because I've heard the backlash. I have heard more bad than good on this area. And why is that? Okay, let me give you an example. You hire a chef, and say the food department has been suffering for a while, so you hire a chef that has some skill, has some real artistry. I look at every chef as an artist, first and foremost, and then they have the experience to bring along with that, right? The creative flow. And so when they come in, they're hired to do not only a job, but an artistry. That's how I look at it. And that's how the new era looks at it. And so when they engage in that functionality, what they're doing is they're putting their artistry on the line. They are putting all of their experience to back that artistry. They are engaged in the creative process in order to bring out an excellent item or an excellent meal for the resident to not only try, but to say, wow, okay, this should be a constant, either on the menu or, hey, this is a one-off. But either way, it needs to taste good, right? So when the chef comes out, he is excited, or she is excited about the opportunity to display their experience and their artistry to the entire population. This can go, guys, this crosses every area, whether it's a restaurant, a resort, a country club, a hotel, whatever. So they're hired for this. And they want to be free, to be able to have the energy and that alignment, that tuning fork that we talk about a lot, to be able to tune in to do what it is they were hired to do. And then when you come to them and you say, hey, you know what? We're suffering a little bit in the sales department here. We're lacking. We're 90% occupancy. That's good, but we still need to get to 95% occupancy, or whatever it may be, right? It could be in the 60s. So, Mr. Chef or Mrs. Chef, we need you to step it up, and we need you to be the salesperson along with everybody else. And they're like, what? Hold on a minute. Hold on. I thought I was by presenting what I came here to do, a wonderful artistry of the food presentation that I so enjoy making and creating. So what does that mean, sales? Oh no, what we want you to do is cross-train with the sales director, so that the sales director can show you the 4-step sales process or whatever it is, right? And they can take you and they can show you tours, so that you can take tours. Yeah, by the way, you'll need to step aside from your artistry and come out and start taking tours if I'm not here, or, if I'm doing another tour, then I need you to step up and do a tour. Hello. So then the chef, 99% of the time, unless they've had a sales background and they're a team player, but they really don't want to do it, they want to stick to their artistry, they'll say, yeah, okay, I'll take one for the team. But most of them don't want to do it because they want to stick to their artistry. Ask a maintenance director, same thing. Ask a housekeeper, same thing. Ask a caregiver, same thing. Most of the time, maybe not all, but most of the time. So now we have a chink in the armor, so to speak. Now we have a schism in the ism. We have a deficiency in the flow of the harmonics in the company. Now imagine a world where they were all cut loose to do exactly what they were hired to do, and given the tools and the championing and the cheerleading and everything that they could imagine and want or need to be a success in that role of creative flow that they were designed and hired to do. Imagine if we cut every team member, every orchestra member loose to do exactly that. Could you imagine the orchestra and the music that would be played and heard when somebody walks through that door, and when they taste the food, when they see the maintenance all in excellence, when they see the caregiving in such amazing ways, when they see the sales director doing their thing, when they see the chef creating, when they see the activity director doing their thing, and they're just left alone, right? What are they going to do? They're going to come in and feel and sense safety and security, but they're going to feel something like, wow, I never could imagine retirement could be this way. And then they're going to sign on that line, on that agreement, and say, sign me up. Well, wait a minute. Shouldn't we give you... No. I don't need a tour. I can feel it when I walk through the door. I saw the flowers that the maintenance director was taking such good care of, and they were singing and they were humming along when they were outside. When I walked in, I could smell the sense of beauty and wonder and citrus and cinnamon in a fall time, and I could smell the apple pies from the chef waffling through the lobby in the dining room when I walked in, because it is fall time and it's Christmas time, and man, it smells like home. Hello. This is common sense to somebody that has common sense and that is a slight bit awake. And I know it makes sense to you. So this, my friend, is new era consciousness. This is new era entrepreneurship. This is new era business. This is new era harmonics in business. This is new era sales. That's your sales pitch, my friend. Cut them loose to do what they need to do, and you will have the sale every single time. I guarantee it. All right. Thank you for listening. Much, much more on this subject. Watch for the courses coming out soon. Watch for the live calls, and watch for the book. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.